It has been about 3 days later for me. I've come back and tightened my reeds. Hopefully you have. And now we're gonna move on to the next part. But first, guess what we get to do? Tighten the wires. So we're gonna do now. I am actually really going to measure. This is when you really want to make sure that everything is going right and that you have the right measurements. Because pretty much the first and second wire you can move later, but not really that much. The third wire, though, we're going to wrap a reed. And once you start wrapping, you cannot move that third wire. So we want to make sure it's good. So remember, my measurements are in inches. So remember the first wire, and I like to do in between because remember each wire has two parallel lines. So I like to go in between those two. So the first wire, I like to measure an eighth of an inch from the collar to the first wire. Awesome. So I can actually move mine down a little. And then once it's there, you can tighten it again. And remember, so collar to the first wire is an eighth of an inch. And then, as another thing too, the first wire to the bottom of the reed should be about an inch. This older cane that I have, actually likes to go, is a little longer and then shorter in the tip. So it's really you. And my measurements are the way I learned. Different people have different measurements. I know like Bassoon's has like 3/4 to the top of the bottom. Some people have 7/8 and 2 7/8. Later on, I will, or right now, actually probably after this clip, I will show a nice picture of his original diagram that he made. So, I'm just tightening my first wire. Okay, so first wire, eighth of an inch to the collar, and then an inch to the bottom. And then the second wire is actually a quarter of an inch away from the first wire. So it'd be a quarter plus an eighth if you're going from the collar. Mine's actually a little bit more, and mine's loose. Which means there is 3/4 of bark below it on the bottom of the second wire. The third wire, I like to just have about, what is that? It's about a quarter of an inch. It really depends like where you want the turbine and the turbine head of the thing. The turbine is what, if you've seen a reed, and we're about to make one, so I'll show you, but that's where the bulk of the string is, and that's just piling up of the thread. Nothing really too important. But the turbine head, that's going to be around the third wire, so wherever, if you want it higher up, some people like it higher up, some people like it a little bit lower at specific dimensions, but you need enough room to actually make a turbine. So you can't put it on the very bottom of the reed. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but the wires of a reed, it has been compared to in Clark's bassoons. They declared it as like kind of like a simile, or very similar to a ligature of a clarinet or saxophone player. So that's the whole point of a wire, is to actually give support and structure. It's kind of like the bones in your body. So that's what it's there for. So the third wire, you absolutely want to make sure that it's tightened, because once we lay the thread on, you can't tighten it anymore. Yeah, so make sure it's really tight. So pull, twist, pull, and twist. So right now, if you're waiting for me to do this, you want to get out your nail polish. You want to get out your thread, your paper clip, and that will be all for right now. Okay, so now my third wire is nice and tight. Doesn't look like it, but nice and tight. And what we're going to do, make the tail, if it's really long, like don't let it be too long. We're actually going to fold it down. So I like to make it a little bit shorter, but that's me because it's really sharp when it's underneath all the thread, and it can be sharp. But once you do have it to a nice size, but you want to make sure you still have a twisted tail somewhat, even if it's tiny. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to fold it down. My brass wire is really heavy, so I have to actually use the flat part of my pliers. Some people, there's a soft enough where you can just fold it over. So that's what we're going to do. And you just fold it towards the bottom of the reed. Like that. I don't know if you can see. Whee! Ta-da! Okay. So now, let's make a wrapped reed. So now we're going to keep making our wrapped reed, and what you're going to need, like I said, you need your thread, your nail polish, and your paper clip. I like to go ahead and, like I said, it doesn't matter what color. Color does not affect the reed at all. It just makes you feel better because you have a pretty reed, or a handsome reed for all you men out there. What you're going to do, I like to go ahead and unravel it so it's loose and it's not flopping everywhere. Just some, it doesn't matter how much, you're not really going to use all this. There's that. I like to go ahead and undo the nail polish a little bit, and like I said, a lot of people use Duco cement glue. I just know the nail polish out or Duco cement ready to go, and you need your paper clip and your pliers, even though you're not really using them that much. So what you're going to do, having your first and third tails facing towards you, you are going to lay a piece of thread. Let's see how close I can get to this. You're going to lay the thread on the other side. So the thread should be with the second wire. Over there. This is me. What you're going to do is you're just going to paper clip it on. And this is why you wanted a coated piece so it doesn't scratch all over. Okay, so having the third and first wire facing you, the tails, you're going to take the thread and starting from the right and then going to the left, you're going to circle that first wire over and back. So you're going to loop. Ready? Okay, we're going to use it on our mandrel. Okay, so around, under, and over the first wire. And you're just going to put that down. And you're going to bring that down, and then you're going to tuck it underneath that third, can't see with my hand there. You're going to tuck it under the third tail. So, we have the loop around the first one, and then you're on the right side again of the reed, and you're going to tuck it underneath that third wire tail. So now you should have thread coming up. And you can just hold it here. There we go. Alright. So now you have this thread here. I actually like to normally coat my reed first before doing this. And by that I just mean under the first wire, under the third wire, and a little bit above the second. It actually doesn't matter if you do it beforehand. I just do it because I like the thread to stick more, but I won't do it on here. So what we're going to do is the next part is actually called making, so we're wrapping the reed, so we're making a turban on this next part. So having it still facing you, what you're going to do is you're actually just going to turn and twist and wrap it around, and you're going to make like a cosine wave. So this is great. You're going to go over, and so by the time you get to the second wire facing you, or by the time you get to the back of the reed, you should be on top of the two wires of the third. Does that make sense? We're going to go around and over. And then you're just going to keep wrapping it so that when you come back to the full circle, you're already back under. So what we're going to do is you're just going to keep making these motions, and you're just going to follow your lines. They don't have to, the strings do not have to touch each other when doing this. It's actually better to have a little bit of space in between each little wave. The question is, when do you stop? You actually keep going until, and this won't make sense until I show you, you keep going until enough of the reed has been covered, the wire, and then when the next time you come up, it actually comes up parallel with the reed. And so it should look like this, but I'm not there yet, so we'll keep going. And you don't have to do a lot of work, you can just hold the thread really taut, and then you just twist with the mandrel.